Welcome to Changing the Game, where bold leaders, rule breakers, and trailblazers drop the playbook and share how they lead, win, and shake things up. Hello, everyone. My name is Duren. Today, I am joined by Briana Gilmartin. Briana is the Director of Program Management for People and Culture at the National Women's Soccer League. Before joining the team at NWSL, Briana played Division I soccer at Iona College and built a career as an accomplished HR professional, spending time in organizations like NBC Universal and Deloitte. Briana also played a key role in developing NWSL's Beyond the Field program. This is the league's first ever professional development program that provides a new level of support for NWSL athletes in their career journey. Welcome, Briana.
Hi, Jordan. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. Everyone listening on our first conversation, Briana and I both really bonded over our love for helping athletes, and it's something that she's really passionate about. So I'm just really excited for you to share your knowledge with everyone today.
Yeah, me too.
So kick us off. I love to kind of do these episodes in like chronological order of your life because I want to get your background story. So that's really important to me. So I want to know if you can just set the stage for us, talk about what were you like growing up and maybe some experiences that shaped you as an athlete.
Yeah, oh boy. I mean, growing up, I was definitely what you would call your quintessential tomboy. I was really into sports from a young age, and I was definitely always bonding with the boys, playing lots of sports outside. I was always outside like all day long. I have two sisters. They both play sports too. My older sister tried, I think, just about every sport known to man. And so when she settled on soccer, I kind of decided pretty quickly that I would kind of follow in her footsteps. I started playing soccer when I was 5 years old, and I absolutely fell in love with the game. And I've been just so passionate about it ever since then.
That's amazing. Your sister and I have a lot in common because I feel like I tried every sport under the sun and nothing stuck until I started playing volleyball. So that's amazing that she was able to like find the thing. So
I think she was pretty much good at everything, which is sort of unfair. I think I leaned more heavily towards soccer because it was what I was best at. I definitely wasn't good at a lot of things that I tried.
Yeah, I feel that too. Volleyball was like the one thing. Everything else I was terrible at. I was like tap dancing on the basketball court. Like I was like in tap lessons. So that's a story for another time. But that's amazing. Walk us through your journey then from you found your love of soccer. How did you land at Iona College? What was that experience like?
Yes, I think once I hit high school, I decided to really start to focus on if I wanted to play sports in college or not. And so up until that point, I had played soccer, basketball, and softball. And I decided to quit everything, focus on soccer. And I pretty much had tunnel vision from about my sophomore year on that there was no question I wanted to play Division I soccer. And so all of my college planning was really based around that. I don't know if that's the best advice or not, but I definitely had a singular focus of, all the time and energy and work I had put into soccer, the love that I still had for the game. I knew that I wanted to take that to college with me. And so I was really excited and happy that I had offers from colleges when the time came. And I really fell in love with the coach at Iona, who ended up being Emma Hayes, who's now like huge superstar in the coaching world, coach of the U.S. women's national team. So that's probably a longer story for another time, but amazing, amazing coach. And she really inspired me to come to Iona and play. And yeah, I just took it from there. Played my freshman year. My sophomore year, I was pretty much working through injury for a lot of my freshman year as well, and decided at that point that I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue playing, wasn't sure if I wanted to stay at Iona. And so I did some research. I was looking into some other Division I or NCAA programs, and I settled on transferring schools and giving up soccer at that point. which was a really daunting, kind of scary experience, because it's all I had known and I had worked so hard to get there. But at that point, the injuries were just like plaguing me, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to be at my best anymore. And so I made that really tough decision.
Yeah, that is so hard. It's something that a lot of athletes that I work with just here in Shift Group and in general, like overcoming injury, it can be such a challenging point in their lives. And I think it's just another example of like all the adversity that athletes have to face and things that definitely carry with them that benefit them in their professional life, like being
Yeah.
able to overcome those tough moments.
Yeah, for sure. And I knew at that point that because I was so focused on soccer and making that my lifestyle, there was actually no women's professional league at that
Right.
point. So I kind of had some hard decisions to make of, pivot and start to think of careers outside of sport or, get through this injury and continue to play in hopes that maybe sometime in the future there would be professional options, which, at my time there just wasn't, which brings me to NWSL, which is so exciting that I get to be here now and see the success of the league and how far we've come as a sport and also as a professional league, which is just amazing to be a part of.
That is amazing. Like the growth of women's sports is so cool. Like when I was playing college volleyball, there was also no professional volleyball league, and now there is, and it's growing. And it's, maybe doesn't have the notoriety of NWSL yet. I hope it gets there at some point and can continue to grow. But yeah, it is interesting when you're deciding, hey, where am I going to go next in my sport? There's not a professional league for me to go. How did you deal with that? You had mentioned you had tunnel vision, like you were really focused on soccer. And then when the path started to change, how did you change your focus, or how did you deal with that like desire to have that tunnel vision?
Yeah, it was really hard, honestly. I feel like my entire sophomore year of college was just spent kind of re-exploring what my identity was as a person, right? If I'm not playing soccer, who am I? Because it's been who I was for so long and such a huge part of my life, every aspect of my life. So, I worked with college advisors, I talked to my family a lot, obviously, and I was trying to decide, like, if I'm not going to do this, what else am I passionate about, right? Like, what do I want to see as a career for myself, as a future for myself? And so I got more serious about school for sure. I picked up a double major and a minor in journalism and media studies and creative writing. I knew I wanted to be involved in media in some capacity. I love reading. I love writing. Those were always, my strongest subjects that I really was drawn to. And so I worked with my advisors. I started, getting internships, and I just like took that drive from being an athlete and just pivoted in a new direction with it. And, it worked out for me, but I missed soccer a lot. And so I kept playing like recreationally on the side. I trained and coached people in our like local area. So I never let it get too far away from me at any point.
Yeah, it's so nice to stay involved in the game like that when you can. Walk me through then how you ended up at the NWSL. You got really focused on your future career prospects. How did you end up in your current role?
Yeah, well, when I was coming out of college, people that I knew helped me land a role at NBC Universal, which was just such an amazing job. I loved every moment that I worked there. Such a learning experience for me. I started out as a coordinator within our corporate HR function. And I took that role really specifically because it allowed me to get a view into like all the departments that made up NBC. So it wasn't just singularly focused. So, I got to be part of news and sports and theme parks and all the different areas that make up that business, which was really fun. So many perks to working there, really cool experiences, amazing people. And I learned so much in my roles there. And I kind of grew from a coordinator in our organizational development department to an HR operational role that was more systems focused. And I just learned so much as I was there. Found a lot of success in that space. And I think it really helped me figure out what areas of HR I was most passionate about. And I was always just really drawn to the learning and development, performance parts of human resources, which I think a lot of people think about when they think about HR, they think about like the hiring and the firing of it all. And that doesn't really sound like fun to a lot of people, I'm sure. But there's this whole other aspect to kind of what we do that's just so people focused and in support of the people. And I've always been like really drawn to that.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that in our first conversation together. You said, I take a lot of pride in people and culture, and it's not just hiring and firing. And that is sort of the misconception around HR is it's just that part of the job. So can you share a little bit more about what your role entails maybe on a daily basis, or what led you to become so passionate about the people and culture part of the business?
Yeah, I think when I moved over to Deloitte and I was in this talent services role, I was supporting pretty big teams of people. And I took so much pride in being that person that they could lean on, right? The person that they went to for advice, the person who kind of helped shape what career development looked like and their career trajectory looked like. And I was able to coach them and help them gain the skills and the knowledge to kind of reach that potential that they had. And I just love that aspect of what I do. And here at NWSL, when I was talking about joining the people and culture team, it was really brought to my attention that, we really needed, we're at this pivotal point, right? Where we're growing so much and we're growing so fast. And we really need a people and culture team where you truly care about the people around you, right? And you want to see them thrive and you want to help them any way you can. And so within my role, I have a lot of variety in my day-to-day. We're a small but mighty team. But I really get to set the standards for, how we do our work and are we being efficient and making sure that everybody feels like, we can simplify the work that we're doing and the day-to-day feels exciting. It feels positive. There's a good energy here in our office. And that ultimately everybody's growing and developing in their careers in the way that they have hoped to, right? And that we're supporting them on that journey.
Yeah, I want to take a step back too, because I don't want to gloss over this. You mentioned your work at Deloitte. How did you make the transition then from Deloitte to NWSL? How did that work out?
Yeah, it's a really unique experience that I had, I think, because obviously Deloitte is a big sponsor to the NWSL. And so the whole time that I was at Deloitte, my team always knew how passionate I was about soccer. We would talk about soccer all the time and, sponsorships for US soccer and all the great work that they're doing at Deloitte to kind of launch the women's and men's game. But it was a hard transition to make. I loved my team at Deloitte. I absolutely loved my role there as well. It's obviously a great organization to work for. And ultimately, I said I would never, ever leave that role unless it was for like my dream opportunity. And lo and behold, my boss here at NWSL, who is the chief people and culture officer for the league, we had crossed paths very briefly at NBC Universal. And so again, it's important to keep a network, right? She reached out to me with a potential opportunity and I couldn't pass up the opportunity to just kind of like take all these skills that I've gained over, the 15 years of my career and put it into play at a place like NWSL where like I can be super passionate about the cause as well.
Yes, I love it. You brought up the point exactly. Like, I feel like I just teed you up because I wanted you to talk so much about like the networking perspective. Like you have this job at Deloitte and my work here at Shift Group, I try to tell candidates, like, you never know where your next opportunity is going to come from. Yeah. And so say yes to opportunities when you can, network, meet people, just form relationships because you never know. That opened the door for your dream job. And I just think that's such a cool story.
Yeah, like Deloitte is about 150,000 people organization globally. I think, if you're not making the most of a network that big, you're doing something wrong, right? So it was definitely important to me always. I'm a very social person. I like teaming, I like collaboration, but building those relationships, those real genuine relationships with people has always been a big part of my job within the HR space, but also just personally to me as a human, like I like those connections. So
Yeah.
yeah, I try and keep my network big and try and teach our players now to keep their networks big as well.
Yeah, I actually would love to hear your advice on that. Like, what advice do you give to candidates or players that are going out into the world or the workforce for the first time? How do you encourage them to start building a network when maybe they don't know where to start?
I think people are always excited to talk about what they do. People are always excited to have any type of, big or large conversation with you. If you're just in that exploration phase of your career, it's just find the right people, right? Don't say no to conversations with people. Like be open, be willing. We do a lot of upskilling on career conversations, and we talk to our athletes about having an information type call versus having a mentorship type call versus having an actual like business conversation or interview, and what the differences are between those types of conversations. And we encourage them to find people, and we direct them as well into these networks of people in their areas of interest. And we encourage them to set up time, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, have a coffee chat, right? And just pick their brains, seek out advice. What do they love about their role? What are the biggest challenges about their role? And I think that helps them start to refocus what they're passionate about and if that certain career might feel right to them or not.
That is great advice. I would love if you could spend a little bit of time just talking about those differences that you mentioned between that info sesh, the mentor call, and then the business interview you mentioned. So what are the difference between some of those conversations?
Yeah, we work with this amazing group, and I know Shift Group has worked with them as well. And I have to give them a shout out here because they're just the best at what they do. We work with a group called Life, and they are career counselors specifically for athletes. And they help us with a lot of this content and a lot of the curriculum around how to have these types of conversations and what the differences are. And I think the main differences that we see between, having just an info session versus having like a career driven conversation is, have you narrowed down like your focus areas, right? Like if you're just in an exploration phase, you might want to get on the phone with somebody and just pick their brains about, what is this job, right? Because there's a lot of job titles out there, and some of them they're very confusing, right? Like
Definitely.
what's a talent services delivery manager, right? Like my past roles, it's like, what does that actually mean? I think if you ask my family what I do for a living, they'd probably still be like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
What does that mean? So I think there's an opportunity there to kind of say like, oh, that really sounds like something I love, right? Or I'm interested in strategy, or I'm interested in marketing. There's so many facets, right, to those areas that we can start to narrow down. And I think if you have those initial information sessions, that's where you kind of start to build on, okay, this is what I'm drawn to or not. And then in terms of taking that to a career conversation, I think that's where you start to move towards, I'm really interested in what you specifically do. Please tell me more about how I can make a career out of this myself, right? And then it becomes a little bit more directive, and hopefully that's helping you kind of build on a networking opportunity as well. As like, okay, now I have a connection in the space that I really want to pursue. And maybe, that turns into like a mentoring opportunity. I think we have a lot of really, really great partners at NWSL. We have a lot of really great internal staff who love to have these conversations, and they'll say, hey, get on my calendar once a month or get on my calendar once a quarter, right? And we'll really talk through like how we can make this happen for you. And they want to help, which is amazing.
That really is amazing. And I do agree with you. I think a lot of people, like, they want to be of service. They want to talk about what they're excited about. They want to talk about what they do. So I think that's great advice. And I would love to know too, how important has having a mentor been in your career?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've been so lucky. I feel like in my career, I'm going on almost 16 years now of being within this space. I can't tell you how many coaches, bosses I've had that have just been huge inspirations to me. I have had so many real conversations with people of, hey, I feel a little stuck. How can I, start to move forward in my career? Or I feel like I'm not really getting a lot of passion as to like some of the tasks that I'm focused on right now. How can I kind of move out of this like weakness space and back into my strengths? And I've had so much support and so much guidance, even when I was leaving Deloitte to come to NWSL. I had so much encouragement from my coworkers and my colleagues there of knowing this was like a dream opportunity for me to say like, we're going to miss you, but we're so happy for you. And if like there's anything that we can do to help you, I've actually had conversations with so many of them since I've been here saying like, oh, can we do this or that together, which is just really fun. You keep that network of people, but I've had a lot of really great mentors. I've been really lucky.
That's amazing. I think, yeah, the network, the mentorship is so important. And it's so important that it's authentic as you go through your career. It really is the authenticity of building those relationships, not just like, hey, do you want to be my mentor? It's like, this has to come organically.
It really does. It really does. And I think like, sometimes when it's not happening organically, right? Like it's still a great learning experience to have a conversation, but maybe in the end of it, you're like, okay, that kind of landed flat. That's not really the direction I was thinking in. And, you try again.
Yeah. I don't want to relate it to dating, but it is like a little like similar.
Kind of, right?
Yeah. It's like, okay, if the energy wasn't there, then maybe it's, not meant to be. Maybe you're on
the vibe is off. The vibe is off.
Exactly. The vibe was off. So don't waste any more time on it.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit more about Beyond the Field. I think this program is so cool. I want to hear your perspective on it. What inspired the program and how did it come together?
Yeah, this is my absolute passion in life right now is just leading this program for NWSL. I think the idea of it did come pretty organically to the league, and the kind of foundational components of it came just before I was hired in. And so I was hired in really in this capacity to help put this program together. And it was sponsored by an NWSL partner. The only guidelines kind of around it is that they wanted to build a professional development program for players. And I think as a league, we've really matured into a space where we know that we owe our players everything, right? Like they've given us everything and we really owe them something back. And this is our way of giving back to that community of players and making sure that we see them not just as athletes, but as people. And we really want to help them grow and develop in whatever direction we can, right? Whether that means continuing life in sport after they assimilate out of the league or, pursuing new passions or new initiatives. Like we want to be there in support of that. And we open this program up to our retired athlete population as well, which has been so impactful because they really didn't have these same opportunities when they were in the league. And so we want to make sure that we not only look ahead, but we look back and we kind of address the fact that we haven't had the capability or the resources to kind of do this in the past. But now that we do, obviously, we're going to do it to the best of our ability.
I think that's so cool that you open it up to the alumni, so to speak, of the program. Yeah. I mean, it's so true. They didn't have the same support or the same opportunities. And I think it's amazing that you are really establishing this as it's a true community. It doesn't matter if you're currently in the league, but you helped build us to where we are now. So
And they've been such a vital part of the program. I think just the diversified experience of our active players versus our retired players versus our players who are just thinking about, rolling off from the league, all of their lived experiences, they can give each other advice. They really have built like a really tight-knit community within this first cohort that we've been through. And it's so nice to see, that kind of network come together. And, our goal as the future evolves is obviously to keep them on as mentors to the future groups, right? So we're constantly evolving, but giving back group after group. And I think that will help, so much with our future cohorts of just having the experiences of some of these recent ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was actually going to be one of my questions. Besides keeping some of those athletes on as mentors afterwards, do you see it evolving in any other directions?
Yeah, I mean, we have so many ideas internally of how we can continue to grow and evolve the program. I think I'm so grateful to this first cohort of players. They've been nothing short of amazing. They're so engaged. They're so dedicated to the curriculum. And even within our group, they've given us such good ideas of things we can add on, things they wish they would have had when they were a player. And it's really helping us start to build out what additional curriculum could look like under the Beyond the Field umbrella, and not just for the cohort, but to all NWSL players. Because how amazing would it be to have this level of support right out of the gate, right? As a rookie, you're getting these experiences. And so we've already made a lot of steps to kind of open this up, and we've given all of our players licenses within the Coursera learning platform so that they can be doing like self-serve, self-paced learning on the side. We've given them all access to AthLife as a career advisor, so they can be talking to them about maybe educational opportunities that they want to pursue while they play. They can talk to them about maybe some passions that they have, outside of soccer that they want to work in, while they're playing, or talk to them about, potential to retire and what that could look like and what pathways are available to them. And I think it's great, hopefully, for them to know that they have the support of the league in whatever they choose.
That's amazing. And I know all of us here at Shift Group, it just makes me so excited you talking about that, like all the support that you give your athletes. I know it's such a challenging time in an athlete's life. And yeah, I didn't play professionally, but a lot of my teammates here at Shift did. And I've seen it firsthand, just the impact that period of your life can have on you. So very passionate about that too. And if Shift Group can do anything to help, we're ready to and lend a hand. So
you guys are so amazing. We're so aligned already in just our areas of interest and the work that we do. And Shift Group has already helped multiple NWSL athletes kind of assimilate into a new career and be placed in real jobs, right? Post playing. And I love that about what you guys do. And obviously we bonded so much over these conversations, but I just really believe in that level of support. And I think it's lost sometimes because people think, professional athletes have it all, right? And they have it all figured out. But they're people too. And so I think it's important.
That is such a, and I know we only have a couple minutes left here, but that is such a misconception that I also feel very passionate about. You hear the narrative out there that, athletes have it all. They're so privileged. They get this and that. And there are a lot of, there are perks that come with being an athlete. However, it's not without sacrifice.
Yeah.
And so I am extremely passionate about that too. It's a very big misconception that they're privileged and get everything. And so I love that there are programs out there to help them during those difficult periods. And I could go on forever, but in interest of time, I do want to respect your schedule today. So I just have, I'll just leave it with one more question, Briana, if you don't mind. I would love to know if you could leave our listeners, especially those who are transitioning out of sport or service, with one key takeaway or piece of advice as they move into a new chapter. What would it be?
I heard this quote and I actually love it. Is even small steps move you forward. I sort of love that advice for the transitioning athlete because I think in that moment, it can be so daunting to think about what's next. And I hear from a lot of our athletes that they have a lot of fear in pursuing something new because they've given their life to sport. They feel like that's the skill set that they have, and they don't know what else they'd be successful at. And they have a lot of doubt. And I think people don't really see that aspect of it. And everyone has to start somewhere, right? And so even if it's a small step, like having an info session, right? Or talking to me or talking to Athlife or talking to somebody at Shift Group, that's already progress, right? Towards something. And as an athlete, you already have so much to offer just having been through the journey, right? You have the drive, you have the determination, you have the teaming skills, right? You know how to communicate. There's so much that you already bring to the table that people are looking for. So, small steps move you forward, and, you already have what it takes. You just have to believe in yourself.
Mic drop. Amen. Thank you so much, Briana. That was amazing advice. I'm so wholeheartedly agree with that. Where can our listeners connect with you? Can they add you on LinkedIn? Where should they follow you?
Absolutely. Add me on LinkedIn. I love talking. I practice what I preach. So career conversations, you want to talk, let's talk. I'm an open book really when it comes to this. And I'm really passionate about helping people find the right pathways. So reach out anytime.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone listening. We will be back next week, same time. And Briana, thank you so much for your time. This was amazing.
Yeah. Thank you, Jordan. Thanks for having me.